And welcome to the Skolo Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. You can visit our website on https://skolo.online. You will find more courses on what we teach right here on this YouTube channel and much more. Remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so that you'll be notified every time we have new content. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. In this video, we are going to pick up exactly where we left off in the previous video, where we are building a whole Django application where we are going to implement social login, specifically Facebook login. So if you're catching up with us and you're watching this video for the first time and you haven't watched last week's video, I will put the link in the description below. I think it's important that you watch the video from last week so you can get the basics of what we're going to do. I will not cover what we've already done in detail. I will just take you through what our application looks like right now. So it would be helpful if you watch last week's video first, and then you can then come and follow along with us. I will also make the code for this available on GitHub, and you can go and check it out if you want to implement social login into your Django applications. Now, where are we? All right, so we have already built this app. All right, it's got an authentication app, and we've got the templates, we've got the static, we've got the manage with PY. We've already done a lot in the previous week. So what you need to have is you need to have your app open. So have it open inside of the root of your project, and then we're just going to run Python manage.py run server, and then we're going to pick what port we want to run that server on. So I think we're going to pick port 5000, and then you just click enter, and then you just make sure there's no errors, that it's running the application properly. And I think that's the application that we've got over there on server 5000. In fact, if you just removed all of that and you went directly to the home of that app, it will route you to authentication, because we've rerouted the home to the authentication page for now until we build a landing page for this application. So we've already wired the normal login Django, which means if you had to log in with your normal login, you would put in your email address, and you would put in your password, whatever your password is, and then you would be able to log in. All right, and what we want to do is to be able to implement these ones where you can log in with Facebook. I won't do the Google one, but I think once you do the Facebook one, you'll get the drift, and you'll be able to do the other ones as well. And then you'd be able to log in there with a normal username and password, or you log in with Facebook. Okay, so let's log in with a normal username and password. It takes you to the back end of the app, and there's nothing on the back end. Okay, so I just put this here so you can just have at least some sort of dashboard to show you moving between the authenticator page and whatever the inside of your application that would have been login protected. And so you'll build whatever app you're building, and when you're ready, people are done with it and they want to log out, they would click the logout button, and then it takes them back to the login. So this we've already built, and if you want to know how to do this, watch last week's video. So we got stuck last week is trying to implement the Facebook login button. We got this error that we cannot load the URL because this URL doesn't match the URL that we have on the system, because it's not loaded already. So what we're going to do in this video is that we are going to implement, we're going to get our application hosted. So we're going to put it on a real domain so that we can be able to complete the Facebook login process. And if you also want to know how to actually take your app to deployment, this is probably a good video to watch. And we're going to deploy our application on a Digital Ocean. So if you don't have a Digital Ocean account, I will link it in the description below, an affiliate link where you can get a discount for the first 2 months. You can use that link and you will get your Digital Ocean, I think up to, I don't know how much it is for the first 2 months without paying. And then after that, you will need to pay. But I think there's a limit of how much you can use that you can use for free. So you can test out the system, and then you can decide if you like it or not. And there's no strings attached if you decide that you don't like it. But if you're a developer and you're really serious about programming, I would highly recommend you get a cloud platform like this. Even our backend server is running on a Digital Ocean platform like this. So you can run your code, test your stuff, and and you don't have to like mess up your own personal computer, and you can follow along with us because people are using Mac, other people are using Windows, other people are using all sorts of devices and operating systems. But at least inside of our tutorials that we do on this channel, we do everything on a droplet, so that it doesn't matter what machine you're using. All you have to do is to log into your droplet, and you can completely follow the code and code as we code, because the droplet will be identical from irrespective of where you're logging in from, right? So that's also the benefit of that, is that then you can follow along with this type of tutorials. Now I'm going to log into an account I already have. I'm not going to create an account, but if you don't have one, you would have to create one from scratch. And basically what you need is a domain, all right? And if you don't have a domain, a good place to get a domain, which I get some of my domains, is namecheap.com, all right? So namecheap.com is really probably one of the nice, easily priced, one of the most affordably well-priced domain sellers out there. You can get your .com, all sorts of global type domains here. And so if you wanted a domain for your business, for example, I'm just going to give you an example. You could pick it here, whatever, let's say you want to know berthahokong .com, all right? Let's search for that and see what's available. You can see the domains that are available. You see doc.com, my name.com is available, so I could actually literally buy my domain if I wanted, but I'm not interested in this. People can buy it if they want. But you would come over to a place like this and buy a domain, and then once you've bought a domain, you can then change the name servers of that domain to the the machine that you not to the machine, to like a name server provider that you want to work with. So for if you're working with Digital Ocean, for example, you can still purchase your domain on Namecheap, because I don't think Digital Ocean sells domains. So you can still purchase your domain on Namecheap, and then you only need to change the name server records. And I'm going to show you quickly how to do that right now on this video. So I've logged into my account, and how I got to this page is once you log into your Namecheap account, if this is what the service provider that you're using, you can follow along. You would need to go to the top there and click dashboard, and on your dashboard you will see all the domains that you've got. And let's say you want to manage this one, you would click on manage that domain. And then at the bottom here, you see here where it says name servers, all right? You have the basic DNSs from Namecheap, or you can choose custom DNS. That's what you want if you want to host the website on something like Digital Ocean. So once you click custom DNS, you then change these values to the Digital Ocean name server values. And I think just to remind myself what they are, you can Google it if you're not sure. So in the future, and you're looking for these, you can just say Digital Ocean name servers, okay, like that. And then how to point to Digital Ocean name servers. You can read like an article like that, for example, and let's just see what the name servers are. There they are. So ns1.digitalocean.com, ns2.digitalocean.com, ns3.digitalocean.com. So you would go to wherever you bought your domain, and you would change these values to that ns1 dot, and you put 3 of them, and you delete the other one, and then you just click save at the top. Okay, so I'm not changing mine, but I just wanted to show you how you would do it. Okay, so that you buy a domain, and then you take the name servers and point them to the virtual private server that you want to serve that domain from. So it could be Digital Ocean, it could be anything. You don't have to use the services that I'm using. I'm just showing you the principle, and then whatever service you would be using, you would then just do the things that I'm doing. You get the domain, you get the name servers, you point the name servers, and then you can then come back to Digital Ocean over here, log into your Digital Ocean account, and then the name servers point to where the droplet that you want to do it, and then you can create what we call DNS records for that domain. And then that DNS record, you need a couple of DNS records that you must create, and then you make sure that you get the correct DNS to get the website hosted. So I'm now on my Digital Ocean. So let's say you've already done that. That's good. You save it. You're going to give it like couple of minutes to 30 minutes to an hour. Namecheap and Digital Ocean work pretty quickly. So I think between 10-30 minutes, the record would have propagated, and you'll be good to go if you're doing this for the first time. If you just purchased the domain and you've just changed the name records, you need to just give it some time. Then once you've done that, I'm going to close this Windows. You go back now to your to your Digital Ocean account. You know how I got here. You log in and then you go to your dashboard. You'll be led here. This is where your projects are, and then whatever domain you've created would be here. So you don't have to buy a domain from this place. You can just use this to manage your DNS, which is what I do for a lot of my domains here. Now, when you get here, I'm going to work with this domain called Tidy Blockchain. Okay, if you're creating a new one for the first time, you would go to create, right, and then you would choose create a domain DNS, right? So you would pick something like that and click there. And then once you click on that, you would come to this page where you can enter the domain that you want to create for. So if you bought a domain from Namecheap, for example, that says berthakgokong.info, like that one, you would just enter it there, all right? And then you would pick which project you want it to go to, all right? And then you would add that domain. But I'm not going to do that because I don't want to add this domain here. Actually, the namesavers are not even pointing here, so it's not going to work. I already have a domain that I want to work with. So I'm going to go back to the page that I was at before and say I want to work with this domain that I've already added. Okay, it's got some other name records on it. Don't worry about it. Okay, so when you get here, there are two records you really need to take care of, the A record and the CNAME record, okay? And I can't explain what they all mean at this point because it will take too much time. The A record is the most important one that you use to actually point your domain to a certain IP address, okay? So I'm going to look for my A record over here. And the A record for this domain is pointing to this IP address, and I need to change this, okay? So I'm going to go to more and I'm going to say edit this record, okay? And then this IP address, you should replace it with the IP address of your droplet where you currently are hosting the website that you're trying to, to point. So if I go back here, I think our IP address is this 178.210. Let's just make sure that it's the correct one over there. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it over there. And then you can enter the TTL. For this one, you can just like put it like 120. All right, 120 is okay. And then you then click save, okay? That's the only thing you need to do for now. The A record for the domain that you're working with must point to the IP address where you are running your website, because when we now do the server, the Nginx server over here, it's going to look for for that DNS record that should be pointing to this IP address, all right? And then if you were doing this for the first time, you might also want to create a CNAME record. Okay, so a CNAME record is like an alias that sort of, if somebody types www, you create a CNAME record for that to tell, the request that a www. This domain, you should just send it to the domain so that people don't get confused, because sometimes you come across some people want to access a website by typing www. Some people just go directly to that website, so you want to sort of manage both of those requests, and then you would do that one with a CNAME record, and I think we've got it there as well, where it says www.blockchain.co.za should point to blockchain.co.za, all right? So it just means that, this should point to that, all right? And then only have one A record. I know there's another A record here, but this is for the mail, okay? So I have a mail account on here as well that receives that. So don't worry about that. When you're building yours for the first time, you'll only worry about that A record for the main domain, and then you'll have to worry about the CNAME record for that mail domain. And that's pretty much it, okay? So once you've done that, you save, and then you can close this and just double check that this is still correct, 178, and then it's good. You also then give it about 30 minutes or so to propagate so that it can pick up that record. That is why I start with it before I go into my checklist for deploying my website. We're ready to deploy now. And for that checklist, I'm going to take you to our Skolo Online website. So head over to https://skolo.online, and then / documentation or documents. All right, I've built this nice documentation website to help you guys when you are building your websites, especially the Django one. I've got a lot of content on Django, sort of like code snippets and instructions how to do certain things. So just click on Django, and there's a lot of, we followed this one the last time when we were starting our application from scratch. This time we're going to follow this one right at the end where we're deploying a Django application, all right? So let's go right into it. So now the first thing we need to do is to update our allowed hosts. with the domain that you're going to be working from. Okay, so the domain that we're going to be working from, I think we said it was what, 30blockchain.co.za, like that. All right, so I'm going to just take that and put it in here, edit to our allowed hosts. All right, boom boom, without the HTTPS, just the domain without the protocol. So let's just make sure the spelling is correct. TATI blockchain.co.za. All right, then once you've done that, you also want to add www.that domain, and then you're good to go. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do now is we need to install GUnicorn, because we use GUnicorn to serve our application in production. All right, so I'm going to close that, and I'm going to clear, and then I'm going to do pip install GUnicorn, and make sure that your virtual environment is activated when you do this, so that you install GUnicorn in this virtual environment. This means that if you're going to have multiple Django applications on the same droplet, which you can, and I've done it, especially if there are small apps and no one is using it for educational purposes like this one. I think I've built 10 or more Django applications on the same droplet. It's possible. If not a lot of people are using it, I think you'll get into issues if the capacity is high. If you're getting a lot of requests, then maybe you might want to separate them into their own droplets. So you're going to install this, and it has installed it successfully, GUnicorn 20.10 to 20.1.0, so that's good. And then we want to then make sure that GUnicorn can run the application, because later on when we have issues, we don't want to be confused about where the issue is coming from. So every time you install something, we're just going to double check that GUnicorn can run the application without issue. Okay, so this command literally just is the same command as manage.py. So this command is similar to this one, except instead of running it in developer mode in this format, we are running it with GUnicorn, which is a production grade method of running your application. And another thing to mention here as well, if you followed along with us, you already would have had your PostgreSQL database installed, which is also a production grade database. So you don't want that mini SQL that comes along with the thing. You want to have the PostgreSQL database for your application if you're going to get it into production. And so if you followed our tutorial, you don't have to worry about that, because you already have a production level database. But if you didn't follow our tutorial, you might want to go and have a look, because at this stage, other people who had been working on a development database would have to go and install a production database from scratch. So I just like to do it that way from scratch, because all the applications I build always get deployed at the end of the day. So I might as well just build them ready for deployment from the beginning. This is also why I build all my applications on a virtual server, so that they are ready for deployment. And this deployment process is going to take just a matter of seconds, minutes to do that. Now, before I paste that line of code, I just want to show you something. So inside of this project directory, just go into the actual project file. So the actual project file here is called dashboard. So we're gonna cd into the dashboard like that. All right. And if you cd into the dashboard and you look over here, you'll see you've got this asgi.py, and then you've got the wsgi.py. These are both different protocols of running your application. Okay, the ASGI is the more modern one, and it's an async method of running your application. And maybe we'll do a tutorial on this in the future. Maybe when you're building a chat app or something like that, which needs to run on ASGI, you would use this. But what we're doing, the majority of Django apps can run on WSGI. So if you just open this WSGI.py, you will see what it's doing over here. It's getting the ASGI application. So this code, you didn't edit it, you didn't change it. It came pre-installed with the Django module. Okay, so you don't touch this app, this file, unless if you want to do some fancy gymnastics and change your protocol and how it runs. But for now, we're just going to leave that open. So when we run this code that I'm going to paste over here, I just wanted to show you that so that you can see what the code is doing. All right, So the code is using G-Unicorn and it's binding it to a port. All right, and then it's going to run that WSGI file, and that WSGI file, as you can see, was inside of the dashboard project. So what you need to do here is that you need to, where I say your project, you need to delete that and replace it with a dashboard, because that dashboard is that directory where the WSGI file sits inside of. Okay. And then the other thing that you want to change here as well is your port, because I don't want to run this on 8,000. I want to run this on 5,000. But you can run it on any port that you have opened with your firewall. Okay, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, there's a video we've done on how to secure your droplet with your firewall. Your droplet should have all ports closed except the port that you're using when you're using it. When you're done using it, you should close it again, which is something I don't always do, but it is a best practice and how you should be doing. So this is a test droplet. I don't mind if people want to hack it. But so once you've done that, let's just double check everything is okay. Dashboard.wsgi, you're gonna run that, and if you don't get any errors, okay, you're good. So you might get an error here. The most common error you're gonna get when you run this code is perhaps G-Unicorn is not installed properly. So it's gonna say can't find module G-Unicorn, and when you can't find it, it will say perhaps apt-get, it will give you like some tips on how to install it. If you cannot find the module G-Unicorn, you've got to install it using pip. Okay, so this is a package that sits inside of of your virtual environment. This is a Python package. It's not a package that you need to install using the the Linux installation, because sometimes I've fallen into that trap when I was a beginner, and then I'd have problems and nothing works. I have to delete everything. So if you can't find Unicorn, just use pip, install it, and make sure you do that inside of the virtual environment. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to our website, and then we're gonna just try and rerun it and just make sure that it runs properly. Okay, you must test that everything works. You can try all the routes if you like, but I'm happy if I see this. This is actually running now on this G-Unicorn, and you can see if I stopped this, right, and I try to refresh that, okay, it's not running because it was actually running on this G-Unicorn. Okay, and if I restart it, all right, and then I refresh that page, it's back. All right, so we're good to go. Our G-Unicorn works fine. You can see it was actually even looking for the fav icon to display it. It can't find it over here, so that's why you don't see that fav icon. But we're gonna sort that out with the static folder very soon. So I'm going to now close that, and then we're gonna clear it, and then we're gonna continue from there. All right, then after you've done that, let's go back to our tutorial so I can follow it properly. There's two things you need to do to run your application. The first one is that you need to create a system file, a system MD file that's going to run your application in production mode. Okay, the system MD file is necessary because it takes care of running your app. If anything goes wrong, if the server goes down, if there's maintenance, if you restart your system, your system MD files will also get rerun. And so your app is always going to have 100% uptime, unless if something is technically wrong with the app code itself, all right, that crashes the app. Apart from that, the app will run 24/7. So this is production grade system for running your app, and this is how it's all done professionally in the industry. So so that's the first thing that you're going to create. The second thing that you're going to create is Nginx file, and Nginx folder, or Nginx what they call server block. All right, and what that does is that it's the one that's gonna point when somebody is searching for your your website address, your domain, .co.za, whatever it is. In our case, it's going to be tityblockchain.co.za. When somebody is searching for that, it's going to serve them the application on the path of the app, which is being run by this socket that's created by the G-Unicorn system MD file. Okay, so both of these files work together to serve your application in real time, and they work beautifully. And I think with the Django application, this is probably the best way to run it. Okay, so I'm going to start by creating a new socket file. All right, so you need a new socket that's going to be used to run this, and then I'm going to just paste that in there. All right, and then just change this name G-Unicorn. You don't have to call your socket G-Unicorn. You can call it anything that you like. I like to call it the same name that I call my project so that I remember what is what, especially if I'm going to run multiple apps on the same droplet like I do for my testing and my my learning. This is a learning droplet, so I'm going to have multiple apps on here, so I just have to give it different names so that I remember which one is which. So this one I'm going to call a dashboard because that's my project directory. That's I'm just gonna call it a dashboard app. All right, so this is a nano command, which means it's going to open up a nano code editor that we're going to now in this location. All right, etc system md system. In this location, it's going to then create this file if it doesn't exist. If the file existed, it will just open it. But if the file doesn't exist, it will open an empty location, which means you can then write and create that file from scratch. So we are going to now do that. We're going to enter our password because this is a sudo command, a super user do command. So you need to actually enter your password. As you can see now, we are inside of the nano code editor. All right, this is the file that we are editing right now. All right, from the command line you might not see anything has changed, but you can see now you are in a GNU Nano 4.8. This is a nano code editor. Literally, you can type things in here, click enter. This is like a text editor. All right, you can do a lot of things. This is not the command line anymore. All right, and you can save, and then this file will be saved in there. All right, but that's not what we want to do. We don't want to type these random things. There's very specific lines that you need to enter inside of your socket folder. And then if you look inside of my of the Django documentation that I have on Skolo Online, you can see what you need to do here. All right, so I'm going to just copy all of this. All right, and I'm going to paste it over here like that. All right, so the first thing is a description. What description is it? It's a GUnicorn socket, but I remember telling you that I'm going to change everywhere I see GUnicorn, I'm going to replace it with the project name. All right, so this is a dashboard socket, and then inside of here it's going to listen to the stream, and then it's going to create this socket file, which is going to be under the run directory inside of the root of your droplet or whatever the virtual machine you're working from. And I'll show you this location and you can see later what's happening in there. So I'm going to change that and just call it dashboard, okay, not GUnicorn. So it's going to be a dashboard socket file, and then everything is wanted by that, and then that's the description. So I am okay with that. I'm going to then close this file. All right, so that's good. Then once you've done that, then you need to create a service file. Right, the service file is going to talk to the socket file that you've just built now. Okay, so let's paste that. The service file is actually the one which runs your project, but it runs it on that socket. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in here. This is also a nano command, which means it's opening up a nano code editor in this location, okay, and it's called whatever you named this here. So I'm not going to call this GUnicorn.service. I'm going to call it dashboard.service. And it would make a lot of sense that you should call your socket file the same thing you call your service file. All right, so you don't get confused later on which socket is talking to which service file. All right, so give it the same name and then click enter. Again, it opens up that nano code editor that you can then paste in here a couple of things which I've already prepared for you inside of our documentation. So you just basically copy all of this. All right, just copy that and paste it in there. All right, and then we're gonna go through the lines one by one. Okay, the description, what is it? It's a GUnicorn daemon, so I'm gonna change this and call this a dashboard daemon, and then it requires the dashboard socket, which is that socket file we just built now. All right, so I'm going to change this to dashboard socket, and then after network target, and then here you need to enter the username for access rights for the service. Okay, so my username in this specific machine is Zatosh. Okay, at this point you don't want to use root, right? Because it belongs to this group www data, which deals a lot of with the websites. Then after that, you need the project directory for your project. Okay, so this is very important. You've got to get this right. And I think I can see it at the top, the development dashboard. I don't know if that's correct. I'm gonna have to double check this, but you need to get the root to your project directory. Okay, so I think it's definitely it starts with home, and then your username. All right, and then for the rest of the path starts from there. Okay, so I think the first folder is development in my case. Just get the spelling right, and then after development I think I have dashboard like that, and you can see it at the top there as well. You have development dashboard. All right, and let's just make sure the spelling is good, because this is really what goes wrong with this type of files. If you get the root wrong, you're gonna be trying to figure out why the hell your service is not running for, and it's just a small typo in here. Maybe you just misspelled something and you missed that. So at this point, what you want to do is to double and triple check that this root is correct. Double and triple check that the spelling is also fine, right? So once you've done that, then this over here is the executive command that gets run as well. All right, so over here you want to basically now get the root, the sort of the path to the project directory. So I'm actually going to I'm going to save this for now so that I can show you a couple of things. All right, so now here where we are, it is development dashboard. This is our project directory. This is where the manage.py file is. All right, so let's copy this, because I really don't want to get the spelling wrong over here, because it will take me forever to troubleshoot something like that. All right, so I'm going to just paste it there. I'll delete it later. All right, then you need to know where the GUnicorn where the GUnicorn package is also saved inside of your environment. So you want to get the path to that as well. So I need to go up a bit because my environment is over here, and then I'm just going to copy this and then cd into it, dashboard env, and then I need this path as well, because this is the path where the GUnicorn is installed inside of my virtual environment. Okay, so I'm going to cd out of that completely, and then I'm going to reopen that service file. All right, so I'm going to paste that in there, and then we can go back and make sure we get everything right this time. So that first root over here is definitely home Zatosh. I'm going to just delete this. It's not necessary, but just to be on the safe side, and paste that what I copied. All right, so I'm going to then paste this, okay, and remove it from there and paste it over there. So now I know everything is correct there. And then over here, you basically want to paste the whole root up to the env file. All right, so remove all of that. So it's a home again, and then it's home Zatosh, right? And then after home Zatosh, I'm gonna just get rid of that and then paste that. All right, so it's the development dashboard env, and then the bin GUnicorn in there. All right, and then access log file workers are going to be 3. You can have as many as you like over there, and then the socket that it needs to talk to here is the dashboard socket, and then the WSGI location inside of the application. Remember, our application is also called, our project is also called a dashboard, so you need to change that as well. All right, and over here I don't think I highlight the things that you need to change, so maybe you'll get used to it once you've done it a couple of times, but you can just go through it again. Make sure this is the description. All right, this is the socket. All right, and make sure that spelling is right. Then the only other thing you need to have a look at is your username inside of this machine. All right, and then this don't change, just leave it exactly as it is. Then this is again very, very important, the working directory of your Django project. You need to get the absolute path to that all the way from the home. All right, and then the next thing that you need as well is the absolute path to the GUnicorn inside of the virtual environment bin. All right, so you make sure that this path up to here at least is correct. The end of it should be the same, so make sure you just root directly to your env. All right, then you look at that, you look at that, and then this is now you are binding now that socket, okay, in its dashboard socket. And then you just double check the location of the WSGI where I showed you when you were running that WSGI. Then you need to make sure that this is also correct. and then then everything is fine over there. You can save this, Control X, and then you can say yes, and then you can save that. All right, so let's clear this and continue following our tutorial. Okay, now you can start the G-Unicorn socket. Okay, so let's copy that and paste that in there, and keep in mind that ours is actually not a G-Unicorn socket, it is a dashboard socket. So whatever it is you've chosen to call your socket, that's what you need to start. Okay, and you click enter, so you won't see anything there for now. And then the next thing is to enable it. All right, so let's enable it. So this is the dashboard socket. All right, so let's enable that over there, and you'll see create a sim link. So if you don't have an error here, then I suppose that's okay for now, but you can still check the status of your socket quickly. All right, so let's just copy that and check that the socket is connected, or it's running at least. So I'm going to change this to dashboard. All right, and then you should see this green over there, and you should see that for now there's nothing to it, because it's not really, we still need to start the application so that it connects to the socket. But if you see what's in front of me here without an error, if there was an error, you would see it will tell you that could not start or could not do something. Then you know that you have a problem that you need to have a look at. So for now, this is good. This is loaded, this is active, and it tells you from when it started being active, which is about 40 seconds ago. And the triggers is that dashboard service, okay, which is what we're going to have a look at now here as well, the status of that dashboard service. And let's just paste that what we have in there, and we'll say status dashboard. All right, and then you'll see that's the dashboard service, and it's currently dead because it's not quite running anything yet. It will start running the app when you're actually running it, when somebody requests it, but for now it's active, it's ready to go. And if you see this, you're good. If there was an error, you would have seen that printed here at this point. Okay, so now we've got our service running and everything is operating as it should. The next thing is now to get the Nginx service up and running, so that Nginx can serve our project through the server block. Okay, and what I like about Nginx and the server blocks is that you have the ability to, even though you have only one virtual private server with one IP address, you can actually have multiple websites built on there and listening on port 80. All right, if they are not busy, all right, if the websites are not all busy, if they're small websites and they don't have a lot of traffic, you can have as many of these as you like inside of one droplet. This is why I think this is such great service with Digital Ocean, and they're not like paying me to be that great about them. They really are an amazing company. And for $5 a month, you can like basically test 5 different MVPs and even more, and build stuff, and to show for your portfolio or for whatever it is that you're able to build all of this, and you can have them hosted and you can have them live for that price of $5 a month. So I'm going to copy this as it is, and actually before I do that, let me just let me see in here, dashboard. All right, I want to copy this root because I'm going to need it inside of my Nginx file again. So whatever, actually I don't need to copy that, I can just undo here. Oh great. Okay, so let me not do that. Let me not copy anything in there. All right, so we're gonna copy the nano instruction over here to create a new Nginx file or server block. Okay, and here where it says your project, you can call this anything that you like, and of course we are going to call it a dashboard. Right, so what this command does is that it opens again a nano code editor with super user commands in this location, and that file is called a dashboard. Right, so we're going to open that, and then we're going to paste this contents in there. All right, so let's copy that, and we're going to paste that in here. So basically what this is saying is that it's listening on server 80, and if it gets anything on server 80, it's going to sort of route it to these domains over here, which is www and the one which is non-www. Okay, you sort of need them both, even if you would because you've created, remember the A record for them both, you had the A record and the C name when you were doing the, when we were doing this on when we were building the DNS records on Digital Ocean. I think I've closed that window. We did create an A record, and then we created a C name record for www. This means that from the DNS point of view, both of these domains exist, okay, even though so you need to serve both of them. And but if you do it like this is actually bad practice, because what this does is that it actually then creates your website twice, and you're gonna find that your website exists on domain.co.za and exists also on www. So you have two instances of the same site, which also you don't want. So a better thing to do is to serve it once on here and then create another block over here for the www, and then rather have that one have a 301 redirect to that to the other one, so that you only serve this once, and then this one, because you have a DNS for it, you have to do something about it, because some people will access it using www. So instead what you will do is that you will then do a 301 redirect, but I'm not going to cover that in here. I'm just giving you a tip of what you can do. So what we have here actually is bad practice, but we're going to do it anyway because it works. You have to serve both of these, because if you don't serve both of these, then you have an even bigger problem than this bad practice. It's only bad practice when it comes to SEO and some other things later on, when you have multiple instances of your website, and Google can pick that up and it splits your SEO between them, and you don't want that. So you'd rather have the other one 301 redirecting to the other one. Okay, so over here is where we're going to put that statibblockchain.co.za. Remember, that is the domain where we created the A record pointing to this IP address. So by now it should have propagated. Okay, so let's have a look at, oh goodness, what am I doing there? All right, so let's just type it, TATI blockchain.co.za. all right, and then we're going to have www. Let me just copy that so I don't have to type it again, and if I've made a typo, it will be copied through. All right, then you need a fav icon, a location for that. That's not really, actually this piece of line over here is not necessary, because my fav icon sits inside of my static folder, and that's okay. So you can actually remove this. This location is not necessary, right? But it's necessary to give the location of your static folder, because in production, the way the static assets are served, it's slightly different. You'll see over here that you have to decide whether you are debugged true or not. Okay, so now we actually have to go in here and say debug false, because now we are running this in production, and in production you do not want to run with the debug true. So you want to say debug false, and then if you remembered, when we built our, instead of the dashboard app and we did our URLs, we had at the bottom there that says if settings is debug, the URL patterns, you're going to add a pattern for the media URL and the media root, and so that you can find the media files. All right, so now, because we're no longer in debug, it's going to struggle finding the media files as well. So what you need to do is, over and above what we've done, let me just double check the media root, and it's called the media URL. I think we called it uploads. Okay, so you need to then create the path for it inside of your Nginx server, the way we've done it for static. So what you can do, you can actually just copy this, right, and then at the bottom here create some space, all right, and then 1 2 3 4, and then paste that, so that you have both the static location and the uploads location, because you need both for your Django application, especially if you're going to be uploading documents. So you're going to call this upload, and then the other one is static, so Django can file your uploads and you can find your static file. Then the other thing you're going to do now, after you've done that, you're going to then get the root, the path to your project directory, and paste that in there. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way back, and it will be home, and my username is Azatosh, like that. And then we are going to paste, what are we going to paste? We are going to paste this. This is the root to the project directory. Okay, so we're going to paste that in there. All right, and then it's exactly the same thing for the upload folder. So we can actually just like take everything back all the way to there, remove that, and then we just need to sort of copy from here and paste in there. All right, so both the static and the uploads, if you think about it, both those files are inside of the root of your directory. So the static is here and the upload folder would be here as well. Okay, so you just need to define them inside of your Jinx file so that it can find them. And then the other thing that you need to then do, this is the important part, this is the socket that's running your application. Okay, so you need to just, because remember, they are all saved under this location inside of your virtual server, and I'll show you later. But you need to then remove that and paste your dashboard socket. All right, so all your sockets sit in one place. So I'm just going to copy this for you. Just run, yeah, this run. All right, and then after you're done with that, you can you can save this. So you're gonna do Control X, yes, save this, and you're good to go. Okay, so I'm gonna go down to the root of my my sort of, what is the droplet, okay, to show you something. So inside of your droplet, if you do cd run, that thing that I copied there earlier on, all right, you will, if you open here, you will see all your socket files, all right, and other things that are running, including the socket files that you've created. So you need to make sure, well, you don't need to make sure, but your GUnicorn socket file is here, because I've got another project that I called GUnicorn socket, and then you'll see your dashboard socket file is here as well. So this is the socket file that's being used to basically run your application. So if you're having issues troubleshooting in the future and you struggling to find certain things, you must just come search for them in here and make sure that they're created properly. Because sometimes when you are going, some of the errors that you'll experience going through this code is that sometimes when you run this thing, if there's a problem with this initial file and it doesn't actually create the socket, you know, and then you come here and then you check and you see that it's not there, then you know that the socket wasn't created properly. Maybe there's something wrong with the name, it's clashing with another one, because I've made typos sometimes, and then you have that error. Then you know that check for it in here. But if you find it in here, then you're good. All right, so I'm gonna just clear that, and we're good to go over here. Then so where were we on the thing? So now that your Jinx thing is ready to go, you can enable the file, because Jinx has got two main locations. It's got your sites available and your sites enabled. All right, sites available is basically where we created this right now. Let me just go back and find this command. All right, we created this inside of sites available. All right, so now what we need to do is that we now link that sites available to sites enabled, so that Jinx knows that this is enabled. So you can create files that are not enabled if you're still working on it, but when you're ready to have it go live, then you need to create that link from the available to the enabled. All right, so I'm going to then copy that in there, I'm going to copy that and paste that in there, and then the file that we're trying to link from sites available is this one over here that's called dashboard. So just replace that your project with a dashboard. All right, so what it does is that it goes to that sites available dashboard and it links it to sites enabled. Okay, I'm going to actually just copy this, right, and then I'm going to enter that, and then I don't see anything, right? But if I cd into this location that I just copied over there, all right, cd in there, and you list what's in there, you'll see dashboard is here. All right, this is other websites that I'm running in here. Actually, the default comes with Jinx, so it's probably the only other website I'm running. So every time you create another one, you'll find it in here, and if it's not red, then it means it's good. So if now you see that dashboard inside of sites enabled, it means that linking worked properly. All right, but if that linking didn't work, you would have seen an error anyway. The fact that we ran it without seeing an error means it worked. Okay, so you don't have to always check that the file is there. I'm just showing you so that you see what the code that I'm pasting is doing. So once you've done that, you need to run this command. It's very, very important to check your configuration is still good. Okay, so just good practice. And then what you want to see is this, okay, configuration test is successful. All right, so once you've done that, you can then restart in Jinx. All right, you restart in Jinx, and then you're good to go. So now we just need to go and look for our website, Tati Blockchain. All right, so let's look for it. TATI blockchain, blockchain.co.za. all right, and if everything went well, which I hope it did, you should have your website served Untitled.blockchain.co.za. So this is really great. So what's wrong with this? That not secure, you don't want that. Boom, boom, bad for business. So we wanna quickly install an SSL certificate over there, all right? So to do that, I have the code for that. I've got you covered. You need to install a certbot in Jinx if you don't have it already. Okay, I already have it because I installed it the last time when I ran my first app. All right. You would want to run sudo update and then install it. Okay, it's just 2 lines of code. Once you've installed it, then you're gonna run this command, which installs an SSL certificate on your domain, and it installs it also on www. Remember, I told you you're serving your domain twice. You created your A records properly on both the domain and the www, and then you served it again like that on the Jinx file. All right, even though I told you that the best practice would be to actually rather have the other one redirect 301 redirect, but whichever way you choose, whether you're going to do a 301 redirect, you're going to do what I did, you need actually an SSL certificate for both of them. So what this is doing is that it's going to create an SSL certificate for both your instances of your website. Okay, so I'm going to paste that in there, and all I need to do is actually, let me just copy this so that I don't have to type this many times. Okay, copy that and come over here and paste it in there. It's gonna paste the HTTPS, isn't it? It's fine. We can just delete it. So delete that HTTPS, the protocol, you don't need that. Then I'm gonna copy that from there. All right, and then I'm gonna go and paste it on the other side. So it's gonna install the certificate on both the domain and the www of the domain. All right, so you go that and you paste that www dot, paste that in there and click enter. It's gonna do some checks. Okay, it's just double checking. It's doing the controls at the back to make sure that this domain you own that you're trying to install a certificate for, right? It's gonna check that actually there is like an Jinx files and all of other things in there. So once it's done doing all those verification, the cleaning challenges, if for example you are trying to install this certificate on a domain you don't own that is not currently being run from the server that you're running this from, at this point you get an error saying that we could not authenticate or pass that this is your domain. So if you run this and you get that error, then you must just know that your pointing is not working properly. But if you're following the tutorial and you did everything that I did, and you could actually see your domain without this SSL, you shouldn't get an error, because actually when it does a challenge, it will find it. Now when you get here, you've got 1 or 2. Always pick number 2 here, because number 2 redirects non-SSL traffic, so that you don't have to have A records for the non-SSL traffic as well, because I mean I've seen a lot of crazy things. So what you'd rather do here is also do a redirect for if somebody then types http dot blockchain.co.za, it doesn't specifically say HTTPS. All right, you don't want them not to find anything because HTTP doesn't exist anymore. If somebody types HTTP, you still want to handle that by redirecting that HTTP to HTTPS. So this is what number 2 does. Okay, so you click enter and it's going to go and edit your Jinx file for you and do that. And if you want to check that it did it properly, you can actually go and reopen your Jinx file, which is over here. Let's just have a look at our Jinx file. Where were we when we were able to open it? It's no, not link, it's the one which opens it, sudo nano. Okay, so let's copy sudo nano and paste that in there. This is what we want. All right, oh, there it is. So sudo nano etc, and then we're gonna do this dashboard. All right, so we wanna see what's in the file. You see, this looks completely different to what I had before. What I had before was just this up to there, right? So what it does is it has now because SSL listens on a different port, all right, and it now redirect it shows, yes, I mean your certificate that has been installed, it added the paths to where your certificate is, so you don't have to worry and install them manually yourself. It handles all of that for you, and the redirects are here. So this is your 301 redirect for if somebody goes to host www, it must return HTTPS of that host. Somebody goes to host blockchain without the www. It must return the HTTPS of whatever that is. So what I was explaining to you, when you picked number 2 to do the 301 redirect, then Jinx edits your file for you. I mean, not in Jinx, the setbot edits your file for you to include those redirects, because you have to actually cater for when somebody actually enters a non-HTTP address, because people will do that. And you don't want them to then not find your website when they do that. And this is the best practice in how to do, instead of having multiple records, rather do the redirects here. Okay, so I'm going to close that and I'm going to clear. And then we're going to go back to our website over here and we're going to restart it. And if everything is 100% Pashasha, you should see your SSL certificate installed. And that was just 2 lines of code. And Google likes SSL, then it remembers nicely your stuff that you entered the last time, and it shows them for you, because you are now secure in here, and it can sort of like so from here onwards we are then going to be able to then do the Facebook login, because the Facebook login as well likes SSL, and that's what we're going to do in the next part. Okay, so now that we have finished loading our application, we should be able to now get the Facebook login button working. Remember, when we click this button the last time, like if we click it now, it gives us this error that something is wrong with it. And at the time, we sort of like thought it's because we haven't loaded our app onto HTTPS, which was part of the problem, to be honest, because once you load it on HTTPS, you should be okay. And I tested it after I did it, and I still have a problem. Now I'm going to take you through the process that I went to troubleshoot, because a lot of the times I'll write code on this channel and people, they get an error and then they want to email me immediately as if, we will be available. And I'll be there to help as much as possible. But it's very, very important as a developer that you develop the skill to solve problems and be able to fix things yourself. So I'm going to take you through the journey of how I fixed this problem, and perhaps you can learn from it. And the next time you have an error, you can perhaps look at it and solve it. So the first thing that I did is, of course, I copied and pasted the error and I put it on Google, because trust me, somebody is going to have the same problem that you're having and they're going to be struggling with it. Okay. So once you do that, you copy the error and you go onto Google, and then you just paste it and you search and you read through some of the people that have had that problem. You see, there's already an error like that there. So I'm going to open this one here and I'm going to have a look at it and see what the solution was. Okay. So the solution here is that on your app domains, you must make sure that your app domain has been set properly. And this is what I suspected was the problem the last time, that I must check my app domain. So I'm going to go back to my Facebook, and inside of my Facebook application, which is this one, I'm just going to double check my app domain. As you can see here, I've added the app domain blockchain.co.za, which is this domain where the app is going to be running from. Okay. And then I've added this one for that, just in case that's also a problem. So actually this solution is not the problem I'm experiencing. Okay, so I did a little bit of that, and I Googled and I went through a lot of issues, and you need to learn how to Google. And Stack Overflow is really amazing. Like when I Google for I always try and read the solutions from Stack Overflow. All right, go over to Stack Overflow, and if you're a developer, open an account on Stack Overflow. Okay, I've got one over here, and sometimes I also answer questions when people have problems. And get used to working with Stack Overflow, and you will, trust me, there is no problem that you're going to experience that no other person has experienced before. There is nothing you're going to code and get an error that has not been seen before. Somebody has seen that error, has Googled it, has put it there, and you see that it's also a similar problem, but over there they've got another solution. Look at the redirect URIs. So I specifically had not set my redirect URI. Okay, so the redirect URI, you have to set it on the Facebook page by going under, I think it is, where was it? Facebook login, let's see, and settings. All right. So you go into the settings, and this is where you need to set the redirect URL. So I had not done this. Okay. And the redirect URL is the URL where when somebody has successfully logged in, it takes them to that page. All right. So what I did is that I also don't understand this framework that I'm using. It wasn't very clear where the redirect URL is. Like if you read this documentation, I even tried to search for it, redirect. Okay, redirect URL or something. It's not clear how you set the redirect URL inside of this Django, app. Like I couldn't find it. I even Googled it and I found something after I Googled it, but that didn't work either. So I'm not going to take you through that route because I spent a couple of hours Googling this thing and trying to figure it out. Okay. So you need to set your valid auth redirect here. And the way you're going to do it is you want to know if somebody successfully logs in, where must Facebook send them to? So I'm going to log in here. Okay. With my normal login so that I can get the dashboard URL because that's where it must send the person to. All right, so let's log in there properly and click on the login button. And if somebody successfully logs in, I want Facebook to send them to this URL. So then I decided, okay, fine, this is the URL that I'm gonna set, okay? And then I saved all the changes over there, all right? I don't need to change anything on my code because my code is all set now. The only thing I need to work is the Facebook side so that people can log in properly. Then once I did that, I went back to my app. I logged out. All right. I restarted it. Okay. By logging out, you're restarting. And I tried the button again. Okay. And this time it still blocked the URL. It still says the redirect failed because the redirect URL is not whitelisted. So this time, because another thing, when people see an error, they just freeze at the error. They don't read the error. And that I also fell for that mistake. And I've been developing for years. And I sometimes just get this freeze mentality when I see an error and I just sort of panic like, oh my gosh, my code is not running. The key of an error is to read it because that error is there to send you a message. Okay, and half of the people don't read the error. They just see that red and then, all the light bulbs go off and they just panic and they want to write me an email. I can't solve your problem because I don't know your code. You've got to have to solve it yourself. So I actually took the time to read the error. So I read the error about after a couple of hours of experiencing it and I read it for the first time. So this is what the error says. This URL is blocked, okay? This redirect failed because the redirect URI is not whitelisted in the app's client's auth settings. Make sure the client web auth logins are and add all your app domains as varied auth redirect URLs. Now, this error is telling me that my redirect URL is not set in my auth settings of my app. But if I look over here, I have set the URL that I wanted to redirect to. Why is this still giving me a problem? Then it hit me. Actually, I don't know this app, this sort of plugin that I'm using, what redirect URL is asking for, because there's no way inside of this plugin where I actually set the redirect URL. Like I didn't set it anyway. I tried to set it, but it didn't work. Normally, when you were coding this manually, which is what I'm used to, you set the redirect URL. Let me show you. When you're coding this manually, if you go to the quick start documentation and using the JavaScript SDK for the web, you're gonna go over here. Let's continue. You're gonna go over here, and where you are sending the the script, there's a place where you're gonna set what your redirect URL should be. I just can't remember reading all of it in detail, but you do set your redirect URL when you're making the request so that it knows where to redirect the person to. But when we're using this framework and this plugin, I can't figure out where you set it. So I don't know what redirect URL it's really setting. So it just hit me. I copied this URL so that I can see what is this URL really made of, because I can see over here, if you read there, it's saying redirect URI somewhere there, and then it's got HTTPS and some URL encoded stuff, which I can't read from the top of my head. I'd have to decode it, but it's like it's got some other auth, continue, so I don't know this URL. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this, and then I went and I looked for URL decoder. All right, and I pasted it in a URL decoder so that I can see what actually is this thing sending through to Facebook. All right, so what it's sending to Facebook, HTTPS dialog, whatever, this is all right, and my client ID is just fine, but it's sending a redirect URL of this. This is the redirect URL it's sending to Facebook. So this redirect URI, I don't have set in my app settings for redirect URIs. So that's the problem. So as much as I think I'm setting the redirect URI that I want, the redirect URI that this plugin is actually sending is not the one that I want. So then what I did, I just went back here and went back to the settings basic, where we were before. Was it settings basic? Where were we doing the Facebook login settings? I think it's that one over there. There's a couple of places. So over here, I just remove, actually I just added it to this, okay, but you can remove that because this is not actually the right one. But then I added this URI, even though, and I think this URL goes with the whole plugin, all right, and then saved that. And then this time I was okay, I didn't have an issue. And I'm gonna show you now, because I'm gonna go back here. All right, and then I'm gonna restart this. All right, now that I've saved that URI, and then we're gonna try the Facebook login again. All right. And this time it logged me in. Actually, it didn't even take me through the login process because I had already tested it to log in, and I already went through the part where I have to request and do all of that. And I think when I log out here, I'm not logging out of Facebook at all because I've already authorized the app the last time. So I think what I could do is to go onto my Facebook page and deauthorize the app, but you would then be able to see it. But I don't know. You just try it in your own time because it's going to take me a little bit too long. Even if I log out of this app this way, I'm still logged into the app on the Facebook side because when I logged in the first time and authorized, it logged me into the Facebook side. So I'm technically logged out of the app now, but when I click the button, it checks with Facebook and then it says, no, but this person already authorized this app and you're pretty much already logged in. And I didn't record that because I was doing that when I was troubleshooting and I didn't know it was going to work. But if you do it that way and you follow the video, it's going to work. So that Facebook button immediately logs you in. But maybe I should really show this. So let me log out. So the best way to do it is to clear my cookies. I think that's the fastest way. So let me go to preferences and just is it preferences? No, let me go to Chrome, clear browsing data. And then I just want to clear for the last hour so that I can just show you this whole thing that this is what made the difference for this to work. So I cleared this for the last hour. So if I go in here and I refresh this page, it should log me out because I should have cleared that cookie. So I'm not logged in now anymore. All right. So I'm gonna go to the front page. All right. And then let's try the Facebook login again so that it can log me in properly. You see, I'm even logged out of Facebook itself. All right, because I cleared all the cookies. So now let's try and log into my Facebook account. All right. Then I've logged into my Facebook account over there. All right, and then as soon as I log into my Facebook account, it remembers that I'm logged into the app, and then it logs me in directly into the app. But the first time you run this, it will literally log you into the app the first time around, and then after that, you'll be sorted. So that is how you implement Facebook login for your application. And I think for us, we had to load it on HTTP, but I think this is not necessary. Maybe you could have done this if I had figured out this trick before what URI it's sending through really, and I had added that because I've seen people making it work with the local host. So it can be that you must every time load this into an HTTPS before you get it to work. But I suppose if you're already gonna set the app anyway and set it into production, you might as well just do this. So normally when I do this for clients, I leave the Facebook login for the last thing. You know, I do everything else. I develop the whole app. Everything works. I load it up to HTTPS, and then I integrate the Facebook login because it's then a quick thing at the end to just add the button, you know, add the SDK, boom, 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 and then it works. But then you already have a privacy policy. But then you already have a terms and conditions page, you know, and you already know what you direct. So I usually leave this to the end of my app development process. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again next week where by the way, if you really want to do to be really cool, you can do the exact same thing with the Google login. You can do the exact same thing with GitHub login. If you look at the framework that we used here, this allows you to do all of those. You know, you can get all the social media accounts, including Twitter, that you can create and log in with. And so, you know, go wild and try all of those out, and we'll see you again next week.